Oil dominates discussions as China's president visits the Middle East. We ask what he hopes to achieve. And fancy a cuppa, how businesses are trying to revamp the way tea is consumed in India. Hello and welcome to Asia Business Report. I'm Sharon Jutlail in Singapore. Now, China's President Xi Jinping is on a 5-day trip to the Middle East, and relations with his country's oil suppliers are high on the agenda. Now, he's already visited Saudi Arabia, which is China's biggest oil supplier, and he's also headed to Iran, which is the 5th largest exporter of oil to China. Now, let's take a look at where oil prices are right now, because they had been trading over $29 a barrel. And of course, this reversing some of the recent lows that we've seen in the last few weeks. And earlier, I asked oil analyst Alejandro Barbosa from Argus Media what President Xi stands to gain.
Well, at the end, if you look at these two economies, Saudi Arabia and Iran as producers, they supply more than 25% of China's oil. So although China has traditionally had a strategy to diversify its oil supplies within the Middle East, they're two of the top suppliers. And at the same time, it's a perfect opportunity not to antagonize Saudi Arabia at a time when Iran is returning into the global scene. Plus, this would be a great opportunity for Saudi Arabia to create an outlet for its crude and for Iran in China, which is their biggest market and the market which is expected to grow the most, by creating an outlet for their crude with refining ventures.
Right. Now, that's really fascinating, that because you mentioned that relationship. It's a very tenuous relationship that's rife with tension between the Saudis and the Iranians. And certainly the fact that the Saudis have been insistent that production continues high for oil. So what are the odds that OPEC cuts production this year to try to boost up these prices, which are at these historic lows?
The first thing we need to see is a decline in U.S. production, because at the end, that's the ultimate objective of the Saudi strategy, Saudi-led strategy in OPEC, to produce at will. So as soon as we see that, a significant drop, and by that I mean Argus expects it may be about 500,000 barrels per day in total US production, then the Saudis can come back and say, well, the strategy has worked. At least we have kicked out of the market whatever we could kick out in terms of non-OPEC production. And at the same time, by the middle of this year, according to the International Energy Agency, we should see additional output from Iran of about 600,000 barrels per day. So Iran will be much more comfortable in its total output. And at that point, in the second half of this year or towards the end of this year, there could be talks within OPEC, independent of the tensions that happen bilaterally between Saudi Arabia and Iran, that could allow the organization to reassign individual quotas and cut.
Now, this week, China revealed its economy